And welcome back to Streaming Media Connect 2023. I am Steve Nathans Kelly, Editor-in-Chief of Streaming Media and the chair of this conference. And welcome back. We are going to roll on now with today's Tech Talk from AJA Video. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. But if you heard the tune we were playing there and you recognized it and you put the correct artist and song in the chat, you're eligible to win. You will win a $50 gift card if you are here at the end of the session, but you must be here to win. Just a couple other notes. Closed captioning is available. We'll put a note in the chat about how to turn it on and off. And coming up in May, I would be remiss not to mention that we will be back in person, in real life, with Streaming Media NYC, May 20th to 22nd, link in the chat. And while registration isn't open yet, the call for speakers is open. So if you've got a dynamite idea for a session topic, send it to us, and maybe we'll get you on the program. It's going to be a great show. So please, during the presentation, if you want to chat amongst yourselves, please chat in the chat, and that's what it's for. And if you have questions for our presenter, put them in the Q&A, and after this great presentation we're going to have, we will take whatever questions you have. And then all the sessions from this week, this is the next to last, this is the penultimate session. All the sessions from this week will be on our YouTube channel. Most of them are actually up there already. And so check that out. Link for that will also be in the chat. That's youtube.com/streamingmediavideo. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mike Boucke, Senior Product Manager at AJA Video. Why don't you turn on your camera, Mike? There you are. Good to see you. Yeah, hi, Mike. And Mike is going to show us how to get the most out of the AJA Bridge Live. So why don't you take it away, Mike?
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction. As Steve mentioned, I'm a senior product manager here at AJA. I focus a lot on the IP product lines, and today we're going to be talking about our Bridge Live server. So I can start the presentation here and go over some of the main features of Bridge Live. So Bridge Live is a turnkey solution built for our critical production applications with high-performance SDI, video encoding, decoding, stream-based transcoding, and comes with a flexible SDI I/O. It also offers comprehensive closed captioning support and metadata support. It's really designed around remote production, contribution and backhaul, remote collaboration, and streaming. Bridge Live also provides the capability to create multiple bitrate and resolution streams for ABR ladder requirements. The customer groups for Bridge Live span the industry from Pro AV to broadcasts. This is a list of just some of the customer groups for Bridge Live, which have many opportunities to offer a cost-effective solution in multiple scenarios. So some of the highlights are sports, esports, broadcasts, CDNs like YouTube or Twitch, many government agencies, and of course, houses of worship. We also offer a large set of transport, encoding, and delivery formats to provide you the tools to dynamically move content and deliver according to your workflow needs. So this includes MPEG transport streams that are delivered over RTP or UDP and can be encrypted within SRT. We also offer RTMP, RTMPS output, HLS, and NDI with full encode and decode, as well as NDI HX decode. So next is the codec implementation. So we're always looking for the next codec to put into Bridge Live. We're very actively developing this product. The latest one that we added is JPEG XS TR07. So here's a simple list of the MPEG TS codecs we support. HEVC, which is offered up to 420 10-bit. AVC, which is offered up to 422 10-bit. Then we have MPEG 2 at 420 8-bit. And we have JPEG 2000, which goes up to 422 12-bit. And as I mentioned, a JPEG XS, which is at 422 10-bit. And now both JPEG XS and JPEG 2000 are optional codecs that you can order separately. There's also a comprehensive audio codec support with AAC, and then there's also AC3 encode or pass-through capability, MPEG-2 audio, and uncompressed PCM multi-channel. And for all these audio inputs, they can either be set as pass-through or have the channels swapped as needed to deliver the customized audio that you require on your stream. There's also a very strong ancillary support. So, this includes MPEG-2, HDR over SDI VPID signaling, closed captioning for both EIA 608 and 708, line 21 captions, metadata pass-through, SCSI 35 and SCSI 104, subtitles and H.264 SCI messages, and EPG on input. The codec support has been built to work efficiently and with popular platforms like YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, and many other CDNs. So here's a little diagram showcasing the encode, decode, and transcode capabilities. So with the capability to encode, decode at the same time, along with a large range of codec support and 12 gig SDI, it provides us with a strong position in the market. So with the power to scale for multiple streams and work bidirectionally, it simplifies the products that need to be purchased and saves our customers money. Now, this may look like a lot of capability in the product, and it really is, but the intention of our solution is to provide focused features for our customers and scale up as needed. So here's a simple example that we have where we recently had a client that needed pure IP transcodes from NDI to H.264 SRT. They needed 16 channels, so we went ahead and scaled that up for them, and were able to achieve that requirement doing pure IP transcode. So you can see here we're also showing what the resource utilization is, and the goal you want to get to is between 75 and 80% CPU GPU combo, and that's pretty much the limit of where you go. So in this solution, there was no need for SDI or other codecs. What we really did was solve their pain point in a single server. Another use case I like to focus on is, for Bridge Live is providing reliable and cost-effective replacement for uplink trucks. Now we provide a simple ISP connection to replace a truck and a satellite transponder reservation. It easily provides confidence monitoring because of the bidirectional nature, and alleviates the requirement to reserve transponders in both directions if you're doing it on satellite. Satellite uplink is honestly an aging and expensive solution that is susceptible to unknown impacts, and Bridge Live is the product that's here to provide a modern solution. One of the newest features that we have in here is hitless redundancy via SMPTE 2022-7 for MPEG-TS streams in a local network. This development provides a safe transmission between a sender and receiver via two independent paths. Bridge Live is able to both generate and receive SMPTE 2022-7 streams. As you can see in this diagram, each NIC sends the identical stream on over the networks, over the independent red and blue networks, and we're showing, two scenarios that might happen. So we have a drop packet scenario on the red network and some packet pacing or jitter errors on the blue network. At the receiving side, we do a packet by packet comparison and select the most appropriate packet that's coming in. So if both of them arrive at the same time, we just pick whichever one answers first. But if one is missing or is late, it's whichever one does answer appropriately. So we think this is going to be a very useful solution for our customers. Here's a picture of the back of Bridge Live, which is showing the connection points. So we have dual 10 gig NICs on there that can be used for whatever you need them to. We have a GPU on board, which has a display port, so you can do local monitoring and configuration. And then we have our Corvid 44 12 gig card. So there's, of course, a reference input on here and 4 12 gig SDI ports. With the capabilities in Bridge Live, we are able to do one channel in and out bidirectional at 12 gig SDI, or 6 gigs are able to do 2 channel in and out bidirectional. And at 3 gig, you can do 4 channels in or out, whichever one you want to do. Here's just a quick summary of what's included with Bridge Live. So everything I've discussed, other than the JPEG 2000 and JPEG XS, is included by default. So you get all of your SDI I/O, you get your SRT, your MPEG TS, you get your HLS, RTMP, NDI, and you scale it up as large as you need to. That's supported within the product. That all comes at one price of $15,999. There are some options, of course, and that is the other codecs that we have to pay for. So unfortunately, you do too. So that's the JPEG 2000 and the JPEG XS. So you can purchase those as single licenses, or you can purchase the UHD license, which comes at a bit of a discount. Of course, we offer an annual maintenance contract, and we recommend our customers use this. By having this, it ensures that your the next codec that's available is included in the product. So for instance, NDI is one of the newer ones. And if you had no maintenance contract when NDI was released, you would not be able to use NDI. So that's really the summary of Bridge Live's capabilities. And I think I'll switch over now to the UI and cover some of the workflows that we do. So give me just a second, sorry. And there we go. Okay, so this is the startup screen on the Bridge Live UI. I've just entered the IP here, which is your access point into Bridge Live. Bridge Live does come by default with all of its NICs set to DHCP, and you can set a static IP if you desire. Let me exit that right there. Okay. If you just click on the top of the screen here, it actually comes up to your status window. So in the status window on the top left here, you can see the interfaces. So we have the Corvid card, which shows what the SDI input or output is that's being detected. The Ethernet cards, both NIC1 and NIC2, which shows you the bandwidth utilization on them, so you can ensure that you're not reaching the overhead. And then, of course, there's loopback, which doesn't really have much there. Over on the top right here, we have our GPU and CPU utilization. So, these are represented by the different colors here. So blue is your GPU, green is CPU. Then we have our NV decoder or NV encoder. And as you scale up on your resource utilization, you'll see this creep up. As I mentioned earlier, the goal really is to build up to around the 75-ish% range and leave some overhead for other compute requirements. Then there are the services down here, and this just shows you what's running and what's been stopped. So we have a REST API running, SNMP stopped, our SSH daemon is running, and our license server is enabled. We also have the memory and GPU, the memory, GPU, and system RAM representation of how much is being utilized. Then at the very bottom, we have a very useful representation of latency, our frames per second, and the drops that are being utilized. So you can see here that I already have a very simple workflow built, and we're showing how each component has latency introduced. So this is very useful for customers who are looking for, looking to understand what the exact latency is through the product. We also have some very easy access on Bridge Live. So if you see here, it says API. So all I do is click on this, and what we provide here is our API documentation. So everybody has access to this, which enables you to either status or control Bridge Live however you see fit. There's also the capability to provide some advanced setup options. So the way that this one is set up right now, it's just with the default INI file. We have customers that require the capability to have a, like a lower latency scenario, and they're willing to give up some channels in some instances. So if that's the case, we can initiate low latency modes, which will speed up the codec capability, but might come at the cost of, of maybe 1 or 2 channels in the pure IP spectrum. So that's really the, kind of the general outlay of the status of the product here. We also do have licensing that gets applied to the system here, and we can provide, a lot of information, for either setup, your system, version management, and there's also, of course, diagnostics and support. So next, I think I'll go into some quick configuration scenarios here on Bridge Live. I've already built this one, but it only took a few minutes to do so. And so in this instance, I wanted to build an SDI to JPEG XS workflow with SMPTE 2022-7. So all I did was select my SDI input from all the available inputs. I selected the appropriate SDI port to come in here, and it started detecting that input. I then told it to use it in the output stream, and you can see here I have my first output stream built for an MPEG TS. I set it as RTP, but I could just as easily set it as SRT because we can encapsulate JPEG XS and SRT, and I shipped it out as JPEG XS. In this scenario, I also built an additional sync. So what this additional sync means is replicating the exact same signal on a different NIC or, on a different IP. So in this case, all I did was add a new sync, and I put in the other NIC's IP, and I put in the appropriate port number. By doing this and using the same port number, I set this up so that I could have a 2022-7 egress out of the product. So here you can see on my second Bridge Live, I actually have it coming in, and this is looking at the appropriate port, and it is now bringing in JPEG XS. So it has been recognized, and we have a redundant flow. And of course, we've tested this. So if you disconnect one of the NICs, you will have 0 impact to the stream. Another cool feature that we have here is on the RTMP side. So we have both RTMP input and RTMP output. And what we've added on our RTMP input side is the capability to generate our own RTMP stream keys. So you can paste in an existing stream key if you have one, but if you don't have one and you need to generate one, because this is of course supposed to be secure, we can just generate a random key. Now, if I copy it, I can just go to whichever NIC I want to utilize for this one. I can copy it. I can go to my sending product, whatever it is. So in this case, of course, it's Bridge Live. I'll just paste in that key, and then I'll start this workflow. Now that that's started, I will start detecting the input, and it'll take just a moment here, but you'll be able to see that the green on the left side represents the input. So my SDI is healthy, and we are in a moment here, we're going to actually go green on the RTMP side of things. So now that's green on the input, and you can see that the sending RTMP side has used that unique stream key, which is not accessible to anybody else, and has shipped it out. And the receiving Bridge Live has now detected that incoming RTMP stream. Now I can add an output stream and create whatever I like. I briefly mentioned the ABR ladder profile side of things, and so I think I'll just go over a piece of that real quick here. So, in Bridge Live, it's very easy to add new pipelines, and I can take whatever I want to come in here and generate that. So I'll select my SDI device, and I'll select my port. Now, when it comes to ABR ladders, the way that Bridge Live utilizes this is we actually create individual output streams with different different either resolutions or different bit rates. And what we would do is we would actually create multiple output streams, so we can create up to 12 individual output streams. Although for ABR ladders, it's typically between 3 and 4 outputs. And then a downstream device would actually packetize them together and utilize them for the downstream users' requirements. So this has just been focused on video that you've seen here, but you can see in here that on the output side of things, we can also go in and manipulate the audio. So we can either set it as pass-through, or we can do audio quads and audio pairs, and we can shuffle the audio as needed. So you can select whichever audio you want, you can embed it, or you can pull it out, whatever you need to do for that. The same thing goes for metadata. So depending on whether or not metadata is there, you can include it or you can remove it. It just depends on what you want to do. And you can select your output PID if you want to put a PID in there. So when you have a pipeline created that you actually want to utilize, and you might need to scale it, one of the things that you can do is you can clone that pipeline. So I can just go here and select clone, and if I were to clone it, it would drop another version of that. You need, of course, change some of the settings that are in there. Another feature that we added recently is the ability to use multiple incoming signals to create a final output. So if I wanted to bring in, we'll say, SDI coming in here, and in this case, I'll select maybe, oops, sorry. You just select the device and I'll select port 4. And then I wanted to add another source that is going to provide the audio side of things. I could select that other source and put that in there. I can also select a third source to maybe grab the metadata from another source and put that into a final output, be it SDI or transcoded into some IP format. So I think that really covers the basics of what Bridge Live does, and I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
That was great, Mike. Thanks so much for sharing. That was a great introduction, kind of overview to what this device does. I guess while the audience is formulating their questions, I got a couple for you.
Okay.
So, who is using this? I mean, in what environments, are you seeing kind of the strongest adoption for Bridge Live at this point?
Well, yeah, we're seeing this adopted in many areas. It's in broadcast facilities and Pro AV installations, and as I mentioned in the presentation, it's really replacing stuff like satellite uplinks, and it's being used at a lot of live events, really for a fraction of the cost that it would for more historical ways to get it across. So, because this is all over the internet, we traverse between continents and use the bidirectional and scalable capability to provide the confidence and to actually send the signal back from the originating facility via confidence monitoring, so that back at the sending side, our customers have it there. So that's really the environments and kind of the scenarios that we're seeing it in.
Oh, okay, great. And so Beth Rosen has a question. She asks, how much are the cost savings that you estimate with this?
I don't have those specific numbers available in the slide deck. It's really about a case-by-case basis because of the cost of satellite uplink, for reserving the truck, having it come to you, and then having to reserve the satellite uplink and downlink, as opposed to just reserving some ISP time. So it depends on what you're paying for the ISP as well. But it is a dramatic difference.
Okay, and one other question I had, just so we kind of cover what everyone who might have come to this session looking for, that your presentation was a great introduction for people who aren't familiar with Bridge Live, but for people who are familiar with the product, what is actually new with it at this point? I know you touched on a couple of new features, but what other new features can you tell us about?
Yeah, so we released version 1.14 a little while ago, and that's available for download for anybody who has Bridge Live. I covered some of it, which is a SMPTE 2022-7 redundancy. We also have, automatic input detection now, and we introduced some, the JPEG XS TR07 feature. So that's our, the newest codec that we've implemented, and other incremental improvements such as HEVC interlaced on encode.
Okay, great. So any other questions for Mike? This is your chance. Get your questions answered live. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, thanks so much for coming in and doing this demo for us. It was great to see. And for those of you who want to see this again, because I know it was a lot to absorb, this will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. That's youtube.com/streaming media video. And then also someone asked about getting Mike's slides. And I actually checked in with Barry from AJA, who's here at the session, and he said we can work something out, maybe a PDF or something like that. One more question: are there Bridge Live demos on your website?
Demo videos. We have some demos up on YouTube. We are working on integrating them into our website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Mary, maybe Barry, if you could put the YouTube channel link in the chat, that would be
Yeah, I think there's also
great.
some on Vimeo. So
Okay.
yeah, we have some.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, well, maybe while I'm doing my outro here, we can get that link in the chat. But yeah. So thanks again. And before we go, well, the last thing we do in all these sessions is we announce our gift card winner for that Name That Tune thing we had going at the beginning. So the song was the Water Song by Hot Tuna, and it was correctly identified by Zeal Sheath. So Zeal, watch your email. You should be getting notification about that soon. And again, thanks, Mike. If you come back at 4 o'clock Eastern time, we have one more session. The new Narrowcasters, building and growing niche OTT services and fast channels, moderated by Evan Shapiro and featuring some of the hottest names in fast these days. So we hope you see the air. You're there. Thank you again, Mike.
You got it. Nice to speak with you.